Hello, everybody. This is Global Warming Skeptic here to cover the second debate some more. Um, More broadly speaking, the debates in general, and you can even put this on the campaigns. So, to summarize, what were these debates about? What's this whole campaign about? Well, you could describe it in a lot of ways, but I think one big way people are missing is you have the meritocracy versus the spoil system. And you see, especially in last night's debate, you saw the contrast between that. Hillary Clinton is a product of the spoils system. Whether you believe she's more qualified or not, she's a product of the spoils system. That is, her career is a political career. It is not based on a lifetime of service in some other area. She was an attorney for a few years, but let's be realistic here. She did not try any national cases that led her to her political position. She married Bill Clinton, became First Lady, and off of that First Ladyship, she got to be the Senator of New York. And so she's a product of the spoil system. Donald Trump is a product of the meritocracy. That is, he had a career well before his political career. He was an executive of his company for 45 years, I believe, and his rise to prominence is due to his success in business. Now, whether you say, oh, he went bankrupt, all this and that, the fact is, Donald Trump is perceived with success. Whether or not you believe that's legitimate is your own opinion. But it is a fact that that is how he's prominent. He would not be prominent if his business did not do well, or if the perception was that his business did not do well. And I would even go as far as to argue the perception would not be there without at least some form of reality at some point. So you have the spoil system versus the meritocracy almost indisputably. So, and you saw that last night because what you saw from Hillary Clinton is a machine. A machine that has a specific algorithm developed over hundreds of years of political combined experience of politicians. And that machine has a response to everything. A politically refined response to every single type of attack, defense, when to go on attack, when to go on defense, when to counterattack. All this stuff that you saw from Hillary Clinton is refined. And you even saw that in the first debate. And in some ways, it's even more obvious because she was totally nothing but a machine. Usually, when you're talking about spoil system, they know how to convey emotion through the algorithms to make the appearance of empathy, of care, and of knowledge. And she doesn't give the impression of empathy and care that much. That's why she's at best an average member of the spoil system who just got lucky and faced Bernie Sanders, who is kind of a product of, not even a product of both, really. He's kind of spoiled. But anyhow, I don't want to go too far. Point is that she is refined. Donald Trump is a product of the meritocracy, 45. And you see that while his knowledge of business, if you listen to the words or if you read the words and you didn't listen, didn't watch, you would know that this guy knows a thing or two about business. He's talking about carried interest, he's talking about the tax code, and you can even tell he's got some knowledge of foreign policy, like talking about his war plans. But the problem is that while he has a lot of experience dealing with business and finance. He does not have dealings. He does not have experience dealing with his public image in terms of conveying empathy, conveying other emotions. When Donald Trump said he was a changed man a couple nights ago, he wasn't just referring to that tape thing, that meaningless tape. What he was referring to was the fact that he never really had to convey these emotions before. He never really had to deal with them. His world has been a business world and, in some sense, a star world. He's dealing with people and he speaks the language of money. That is, money equals emotion in the world he lives in. Except for with his family. You could tell he's raised a very good family, but in general, with the general population, he's never had to deal with these empathetic feelings. And that's where he's running into problems because he's dealing with somebody who has a world more political experience than he does and knows how to convey her thoughts and make it appear as if she's empathetic, as if she's caring, as if she's competent to the average person. And that's the important part because you're not dealing with people with money. Most people who vote are middle class and lower. Not proportionally, but overall, most people who vote are middle class or poorer. And that's who the political elites are always trying to get. They're trying to get middle class, poor voters. And he's never had to convince them of much of anything. Even when he did The Apprentice, all that stuff was dealt with by NBC. So he never had to deal with that. And now he's going into a debate. He's got to convey this to people whose language is not just money, but a myriad of other things. And this might be where he's struggling. He's not struggling with a lot of people. A lot of people are connecting, but he's not the machine. He's not winning over that many new voters. And Hillary Clinton is taking all the not the independent, but the Gary Johnson, Jill Stein voters. And it's hurting him. And that's what that's what makes me the most afraid, is that although you listen to Trump, you realize he knows what he's talking about, but but the biggest fear is he's just not communicating it properly. Because he threw everything at Hillary Clinton that he had, and like I said, there's no telling if he won or lost voters off of that, but it's apparent that last night's debate only polarized the two sides, and that means that there's likely not going to be that many new voters going for either side. So, and this is why the system has worked so well for hundreds of years. It's built on presentation, winning elections, especially winning elections. It's not how to do, before there was a sense of honor where you would legitimately try to follow through on your campaign promises. And now the only ones that are followed through on are ones that were going to be done anyhow. But following through on campaign promises is no longer a thing, because at some point in the last 50, 100 years, politicians figured out that they don't have to do what they say. And that it's all about the presentation, all about following the algorithm, and when you get in, you pretty much do whatever you want. You even see that with Republicans that were elected 2 years ago. Look at the promises and look at what's been done. And it's it's just a sad part of the country that the spoil system is usually going to win. There is no end to this system. And so, before I go, I'm just going to briefly reiterate to all the Bernie Sanders supporters, to all the left-leaning libertarians, or who call themselves that. I don't believe that term actually has any relevance in reality because it's a contradiction, but let's just pretend it. If you identify as a left-leaning libertarian, there is no end to the spoil system. There is no end to money in politics. There is no end to bribery, to lobbying. There is no end. You can give the FEC all the power you want. You can give the FCC all the power you want. You can give all these bureaucracies all the power you want to give them. There is no end to the system. Period. So, for you guys who think that just another government program, another tax, another regulation, another law is going to fix the system, get money out of politics, I'm sorry, but you're riding high on cloud nine. It is not going to come true. It's not going to come true. And so I'll repeat this point. The only way you're going to get rid of corruption is if you sap the power out of the government, especially in reference to the market. We have a First Amendment. That First Amendment calls for freedom of religion. And how's that relevant to this? Well, what were the reasons we had to put a religious freedom clause in the U.S. Constitution? It was because without that, you get political elites who become corrupted through religious affiliation and make theocratic laws in order to enforce that. It was put there because you had many different denominations, and you used to have laws in Great Britain that pretty much put the Church of England, the Anglican Church, it was basically law. That was the denomination. You had Spanish Inquisition, you had all these things, and all of this was tied to governments who were connected to religion. We need to have a First Amendment for the marketplace. Government shall not get involved in the market. Now note, that does not mean you don't have any regulations. Of course you need regulations. But the regulations need to be about protecting people from, not from the market, but from real threats. For example, there needs to be some environmental laws. We don't need an EPA, but we can have environmental laws. We can have bureaucracies that enforce those laws, but we should not have bureaucracies that make laws. And more importantly, we should not have bureaucracies that tell the market how to operate. Say, you can't make this, you can't buy this, you can't sell this. And yet, maybe with a few exceptions, like you can't sell mercury is like a soft drink or something, just like if it's clearly a poison. But here's the point I'm getting at. And hell, I'm having a tough time communicating it myself, but the government's not going to solve your problems. It's only going to create more and then create a bureaucracy to solve those problems. There is no end to this game. There is no end. As long as you have the government involved in all of this, you will keep getting the corruption, you will keep getting the spoils system, you will keep getting the nonsense over and over and over and over again for the rest of time, unless you decide to break that cycle like the founding fathers broke it when they started a revolution. And that's how you're going to get real change. That's how you're going to get freedom, prosperity, everything else that everybody wants. But only a few people seem to know the direction we know to get to that point. Thanks for listening. God bless.